Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Eilish if you don't know. So I've done a couple of these videos already and I really enjoy filming them. So I wanted to do another 24-hour readathon. I really like doing this with the timer method. I always have like such a fingerprint dirty iPad screen every time I bring it up to the camera. What I do is I set a timer for 24 hours. As I read, I let the timer go and I just like to see how much I get read within a 24-hour period. I really like this method because it really makes me read, like it really pushes me to read knowing that the timer is going off, more so than a 24-hour readathon where you start at a certain time and finish 24 hours later at a certain time. I do have a few days where I have lots of free time. This can go on for a few days if you let it though, that's the only thing about it, but I thought I would try it. To be honest, I'm not quite sure what I want to read in terms of TBR. I'm in the middle of 2 books, so I'll definitely prioritise these. So the first book I'm in the middle of is A Court of Silver Flames, so this is by Sarah J Maas. I'm on page 470 and there's like 750 pages in this book, so I'm kind of past the halfway point. Then I'm also 100 pages into Vengeful. This is by V. Schwab. My main read is Silver Flames, so I've been very slow getting through the ACOSF series. I'm not quite sure why. I've just had very big breaks in between each book, and Silver Flames has kind of just been on the top of my I need to get to that book list. So I was like very excited when I picked it up. I really wanted to get to it. I really did anticipate it and I am very much enjoying it. Obviously I can't say too much because this is book 5 in a series, but this kind of starts off the book series that are based on different characters. So I think Maas is planning a few. This one is based on Nesta and Cassian, and I really do enjoy them as the main characters. Nesta is kind of the rival villain, I suppose, character to the main character, Feyre. She's her elder sister. Without spoiling, Nesta has gone through a lot of trauma. She's kind of handling it in a really unhealthy way, and Feyre and the rest of the characters are kind of trying to help her, as well as Cassian, who has feelings for her. So, and Cassian is like a really good side character, I think. What I loved about diving into this is that I didn't need to do any world building. I knew the characters, I knew the world. I could just go straight in, and that's what I really enjoy about like reading books 3, 4 and 5 in a series, is that you don't have to do that. The learning of the world at the start of a book. Some things about this book I'm not liking that much. I think it's sitting at kind of a low 4-star for me so far. There is parts of this book that is getting quite repetitive, and I know that's actually part of Nesta's recovery and that's kind of the point. Something that Maas does really well, and I've said this before, is characters reacting to trauma realistically. I think Maas does it so well. One of her strong points as an author. So the fact that that's kind of Nesta's main thing to get over has been a very interesting kind of main plot point. That being said, this book is sexy. Like, it is full on. Like, there's sex scenes and there's like books that kind of borderline on porn erotica. This like is fairy porn. They're very graphic, very adult, so just bear that in mind. They are definitely ramped up a bit more than the original kind of ACOSF books, so just bear that in mind before you go in if that's not your cup of tea. If it is, then go ahead, I suppose. I actually picked up Vengeful because I was going on a weekend away with my friends and I wanted to take a book just in case I had, I got up in the morning and I wanted to read. I didn't want to take this with me because I was like, God help, if someone like looks over my shoulder and sees what I'm reading, I didn't want anyone to see what I could potentially be reading. So I picked up Vengeful by V. Schwab. So yeah, that's the only thing about this book so far. Its weak points and strong points are the weak points and strong points of the original series. So if you like the other books, you're going to like this one, unless you're not gelling with the characters. But I think the weak points of the ACOSF series and the strong points are still in this. It's a very consistent series for me, I feel like every single book in that series has been kind of like on the 4-star range for me. But yeah, so hopefully I will actually get this finished pretty soon. If I could get it done today, that would be great. So yeah, that's definitely book number 1. And then I'm on Vengeful as well. So this is by V. Schwab, the book I picked up, so I wouldn't be embarrassed about reading this. This is actually a sequel to Vicious by V. Schwab. So Vicious is a dark superhero villain story. So you have Eli and Victor, and they are studying what could cause someone to become a superhero or an extraordinary. So they're called EOs in this world. The book has 2 timelines. It has Eli and Victor in university studying this, and it has a timeline 10 years later with them being sworn enemies trying to kill each other. The dynamic of that book was so good. I really loved the dual timelines. I thought it was really exciting. I love that it was like you didn't know who was the hero or villain at one point. So I loved that book. So I picked up Vengeful. I'm liking this as well. I have to say, I don't think I like the time jump elements of this as much. I really liked the dual timelines in the first book. I'm not enjoying it so much this book. It'll have a timeline 4 years ago and 6 months ago and 2 years ago, and it gets kind of confusing. I'm kind of like, okay, here's this character, how are they feeling? I can't remember what happened to them 4 years ago versus 2 years ago. It's kind of a little bit convoluted for me at the moment, and you are introduced to some new characters. But yeah, I am only 100 pages in, so I can't really give a full review of it yet, but hopefully things kind of start pacing a little bit better, hopefully. But yeah, I'm finding the pacing of this and the jumping between different times a little bit jarring at the moment, but it's still very exciting and I still love the characterizations, and I'm excited that there's new characters as well. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Very exciting book. So yeah, I will definitely start off with these two. I wouldn't mind getting to some manga as well. I'm in the middle of Tokyo Ghoul at the moment. I think I'm up to volume 6, so I need to do from 7 on. So I've got 7, 8, I've got all the way up to 14, so wouldn't mind starting those. And then after that, I'm not quite sure. A goal for 2024 for me was reading a lot of new releases and finishing series I'm in the middle of. It's also the end of March going into the start of April. It's Easter weekend right now, so I've got some of my March TBR. I might pick my April TBR in this video actually when I get these books read, but we'll see. I'll probably kind of mood read as I go within this 24-hour readathon. But yeah, I'll definitely start off with finishing this one. Hi, so I wanted to do a little update. So as you would have saw, I finished A Court of Silver Flames, and then on the timer I'm just, I have 17 hours and 32 minutes left. I think the day I started this, I actually, bit TMI, I got my period and it was like the worst pain I've had in a long time. It was just quite a bad one, so I ended up like kind of watching a comfort movie. I think I got a clip of it. I ended up watching Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban just to distract myself, but I did read this for like an hour and a half, I think. I think on Easter Sunday, it was a bit of a busy day, but also I was also in pain, so I didn't read as much as I was hoping. I think I did about 4-ish hours roughly reading this, and then I did an hour or two today. So, but I have to say, I really enjoyed reading this, and I ended up giving it 4 stars, kind of as I predicted. This was exactly what I was expecting it to be. It wasn't better than I was expecting, it wasn't worse than I was expecting. It was kind of exactly what I was expecting. I really liked the last part of this book. It was very much reminiscent of the first book, where it has like kind of a trial element, which I really enjoy in books. I really enjoy Nesta and Cassian, as I said, as main characters. The one change, as I said before as well, is that the sex scenes in this are quite graphic, way more so than the first few books. I suppose it's just good to maybe know that going in. I see these books in the young adult section all the time and I'm like, nope. That is adult. It definitely has its down points as well, like with all of the ACOSF books for me. I feel like they're very cringy in places, I feel like they're over dramatic in some places. I've just always kind of felt that way, but as I said before, I feel like this series is really consistently good. I think each book is as good as the next, and I've just been really enjoying it. So I really enjoyed reading this book. It bodes well to reading in bulk. It kind of like, it is a very bingeable book, I found. It's very easy to read a lot of it in one go. It's not like too much information. It is like the right amount of excitement And I think something that is a testament to the series is I've read the series really slowly. I've had really big gaps in between each book, but I remembered everything. I feel like the series is unique enough that I didn't have to like recap on anything. I really remembered everything that I read before. It is really fun going into a series where you know the characters. But yeah, I loved the turn of pace that it was Nesta as the main character. Yeah, just really liked it. I can't wait for, hopefully Mass is going to do more Avatar books, I really hope, because I feel like she's built it up that it can go in so many different directions. I feel like some people have mixed feelings about this book, especially with Nesta being the main character. I really do love an unlikable main character. I love when the main character is really flawed, so I think that it just makes things more interesting. So anyway, had a great time reading this. This really helped me over the weekend as I was in pain. As I mentioned at the start of this video, I do want to move on to Vengeful. As I mentioned already, I'm already 100 pages into it, and these read really quickly, so this probably won't take me a long time. And then I would like to get to the Tokyo Ghoul mangas, maybe just to break up some book reading. So they definitely are next. However, it's the 1st of April today, so I thought I would do my April TBR and just pick them out. So I've got my TBR card here. On the top here, I have like new releases that I really want to get to, so I've got 4. I did a physical TBR, building my TBR cart video, and I can link that in the corner. But yeah, basically these are all my paperbacks are in this cart, and then actually these 2 shelves as well are all my TBR. I have a lot, I think of over 100. So what I do, I have the names of all my physical TBR in this bag. I just pick 4 out randomly. And I always say this in every TBR video, I like picking 4 because it's like a realistic number. It's like a book a week, especially for me who works full time. But I thought if I pick 4 from here, they would be the books I might continue on with in the rest of this video and the rest of the readathon. So I thought I would just do that. Should I admit this? I actually have more books than these here. I have a few that I'm unhauling, and I actually think I will film an unhaul video. I've just got a box of books kind of over there. I have them on my Depop listed, and I think I want to sell them. However, I am also happy to read them. So I actually still have them in this bag. I still have their names in this bag. So I might pick one of them as well. But ultimately I do kind of want to get rid of them and sell them. But that's my books. An unhaul is coming. So yeah, I'll just pick out the 4, and hopefully I'll get to some of them maybe in this video. We'll see. There's so many. I've actually sold a good few books on Depop. Okay. Oh, From Blood and Ash 2. I have From Blood and Ash 2. I actually did read that and I gave it 2 stars. I'm intrigued enough to keep going. Okay, so I'll do book 3. So the slip said book 2, but I'll do book 3. So this is A Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I gave the first From Blood and Ash book 3 stars, I think. I actually really enjoyed the plot, but I thought the writing was quite weak. And then book 2, I felt the writing improved like a little bit, but I found the plot very weak. Hopefully I might pick up a little bit here. I am intrigued to keep going. I'm interested enough to keep going, but if this one's not good, I might give up this series. I will see, because I think the author is planning a few more. But yeah, the first book from Blood and Ash is about Poppy. She's called the Maiden. It's quite hard to describe the plot of this book, but she basically has to be found worthy of the gods in order to kind of help the kingdom she's part of. So she's kind of like kept away, so she's not allowed to integrate into society at all. The only people she can interact with really are her guards, and she ends up having like a forbidden romance with one of her guards called Hawk. It's funny going into book 3 now, because I was like, the plot has changed so much since that, but that is the premise, and obviously I won't say much more because the rest is spoilers. I found the writing of it very jarring. Like, I found the author loved to pause and repeat herself. A character would go like, I want this, you know. It's very jarring to continually read like that. I did find these books quite bingeable, especially since book 2 is like very fresh in my head. I might get stuck into this soon, but anyway, that is book number 1 for April. Yeah, I'll keep it to 4, and then I think I'll mood read within those 4. Oh, Where Dreams Descend. Oh, that's a fun one. So this is actually one of the books that I have up on Depop to sell, but I might just end up reading it myself. So this is Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis. I think this is like a Moulin Rouge inspired book. So it's a group of magicians face off in a daring game of magical feats to find the next headliner for the conquering circus. So fame and glory await the winner, but no contestant is safe when the unseen danger begins striking behind the scenes. Accidents, injuries, missing magicians. Each act grows riskier, the show must go on. Oh, fun. So it sounds like you've got 3 main characters that are all battling it out for this role in this circus, but it seems to have like a bit of a, I say there's cheating and accidents going on. This actually sounds so good. I love like contestant or trial type stories, and the fact that it's kind of like circus, like Moulin Rouge magician show, that sounds like really good. So that's that. I haven't heard much about this actually, but I know it's the start of a duology. Okay, book number 3. This is the biggest book I own. So this is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. This is by Christopher Pellini. This is the size of it. I think this was the sci-fi winner for Goodreads, I think in 2020. So I've had it a long time, but I have not picked it up. But he's actually quite a prolific author. I think he actually just came out with a new fantasy book. I really do enjoy sci-fi, so I really loved Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I absolutely adore that book and give it 5 stars. So I am kind of interested to read sci-fi books since I know I kind of like them, and I've heard like amazing things about this. Oh, he wrote Aragon. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. This sounds so good. So it's about Kira, and she's doing a routine mission on an uncolonized planet, and she finds an alien relic. And first she's delighted, but then elation turns to terror when the ancient dust around her begins to move. A war erupts basically between Earth and other planets. Okay, so she's the one to make first contact, but it ends up kind of pushing Earth to near annihilation. This sounds very exciting. Okay, but he's a very prolific author. I've never actually read anything from him. Yeah, space kind of like terrifies me, but I also find it like really fascinating. So I think I'll really enjoy this. If I want like a big chunky book to get lost in for a good while, I think this would be really good. Okay, so book number 4. Oh, interesting, a murder mystery. So this is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I've heard mixed things about this. It's actually here on my cart. So this is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. And I think this is about a group of friends who go on a hunting party in a way to like celebrate New Year. So they're in this cabin in the middle of nowhere in the Scottish wilderness, and there's a murder. So I love good murder mysteries. But yeah, I've heard mixed things. I've heard that like maybe mental health rep in this isn't very good. However, Lucy Foley herself, I feel like she's released a few like highly acclaimed thrillers, like The Guest List. I think that was very well received, and The Paris Apartment. I've had this book for ages, so I can't wait to get to it. Okay, so they are my 4 picks for April. None of them are very springy books, not gonna lie. I actually am excited to read all of these. But yeah, I'll definitely pick within these 4 after I finish Vicious. Apologies for my voice, I am a little bit choked up. I've had a bad week health-wise. So in terms of the timer, I've got 9 hours left, and I just finished Vengeful by V. Schwab. I had a free day yesterday and I just read the majority of this book yesterday, and I just finished it off today, and I loved this. It was so good. I would say definitely not as good as the first book. I feel like the first book was just perfect. I did give that book 5 stars. This is like a high 4 for me. It definitely wasn't as good. Maybe just slightly less exciting and slightly more confusing in terms of the time jumps. The fact that there's extra characters along with those time jumps, it was like a little bit jarring to follow, like just slightly, where the first book it was a little bit more clear. However, this was so excellent. If you liked the first book, you're going to like this one as well. Just the cadence of these books are just perfection. Like, just the tension and the excitement of these books just slowly build up to just like the crazy endings that they both have. I have to say, it took until like part 2 for me to really get into this book. In part 2, you're introduced to a new character, but you're also getting a big backstory to an older character, which I really loved. What I liked about this book, it was definitely more character focused a little bit than plot focused. And I think that was actually something that was said actually about the original Vicious, is that the characters weren't too deep in a way, where I feel like V. Schwab really went into it in this book. I think just with the time jumps, just slightly jarring to read, but just really fun. I always say about these books, if you like the darker kind of superhero villain stories, kind of like Rob Pattinson's Batman or even Christian Bale's Batman, those kind of movies, I think you'll like this. And what I love about them is that like it's a superhero villain story, but everyone is so morally grey. You know, there's no black and white good and bad people in this book. And I actually just realised with finishing this and finishing A Court of Silver Flames, I'm actually caught up on 2 series, so that's really good. I'm not finished because I think there will be more ACOSF books, we'll see. And then I know V. Schwab is planning, I think it's Victorious. There's been no news or release date about it, but what I can guess from these 2 authors is that there's going to be more, but for the time being I'm caught up. So I'm really happy about that. I can cut down the number of series I'm in the middle of, which is quite a bit. I think it's about 20. I am going to do a video on all the series I'm in the middle of soon, I think. Yeah, I do have 9 hours left. I think I would like to take a little bit of a break from book reading, and I might switch to manga for a little bit. So I might do a few volumes of Tokyo Ghoul. I need to start 7, so I'm up to volume 6, and I really enjoyed those first 6 volumes. If you don't know, Tokyo Ghoul is about this college student called Ken. So he is the first ghoul-human hybrid. Volume 1 explains how that happens. Ghouls, they're nearly zombie-like or vampire-like in a way. They appear to be human and they live among humans, but they actually eat humans. And Ken falls into a group that kind of want to eat humans ethically. There's kind of turf wars throughout Tokyo, and there's this police task force that are trying to take all ghouls down. Obviously ghouls aren't all cut from the same cloth, so that you've got some bad ones, you've got some good ones, you've got some bad people on the task force and good people on the task force. I found it really interesting and very in depth. Like there's like talks about who deserves to eat, who deserves to live, what it means to be alive. So I've been really enjoying this so far. It has like some lightness to it, some humor, but it's mostly quite a serious story, but I've been really enjoying it. I heard the manga is slightly different to the anime, where like it veers off a little bit, but I've never seen the anime, so I would really like to finish and move on to the anime at some point. And I actually decided out of the April TBR I would actually go for To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Pellini. I'm obviously not going to get this done in this video, but I would really like to crack into it. I haven't read that much sci-fi, but the sci-fi I have read I've really loved. I absolutely adore Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. It's way up there, so I'm not going to get it. So I have a feeling I'm going to be comparing this to that. I'd really like to see what this is like and get stuck into it, because it is quite intimidating just by the size of it. It's 870 pages. It's a lot, so this will probably take up a good chunk of April for me. Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. So yeah, I do have 9 hours left. I probably will get the majority of that read today. If not, I'll definitely get it done tomorrow though. So, but yeah, definitely gonna move on to some Tokyo Ghoul. again. So I just wanted to wrap up this vlog. As you would have seen, I got through some manga and then I started a new book. So for Tokyo Ghoul, I finished volume 7 and volume 8. Volume 7 was really intense. I would say like the most violent, probably the most scary, probably the most disturbing. It's not overly scary or anything like that. However, it is a little bit gory. You're talking about ghouls that eat humans, so there is an element of gore to it. I suppose this is halfway through the manga series. There's 14 volumes, so this is the halfway point. I'm going to insert pictures, but this is really the turning point for Ken. Like, he goes from this to this, and you can see on this cover. I was wondering how that was going to happen, but yeah, that's volume 7. Obviously I don't want to spoil anything, but like pretty much the turning point for Ken. So really good character development, I feel. One thing I will say about reading manga is I do really enjoy reading it. However, sometimes I find it can be difficult to see who is saying what in a speech bubble. Sometimes I can find it like slightly hard to follow, but still I really like this. And then volume 8 as well, I feel like it was definitely the end of a plot point. So I feel like volume 9 is going to be very much the start of something new. Yeah, you really go into, is it Tuka? I think that's how you say her name. But this really does have a nice background story for her. Really enjoyed these 2 volumes. And then I started this big massive tome, I Had to Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Pellini. So as I mentioned before, this is the author of the, I think it's the Aragon series, which I have never read actually. I know it's about dragons, but that's all I know. I don't know, is it a middle grade or is it more young adult? I don't know, is it maybe veering between the two? I'm not quite sure. This is his first adult novel. I spent the majority of yesterday reading this and I got through 200 pages out of like 800. It's like a big space opera. There's a lot to it and I have to say I'm quite enjoying it so far. I don't love his writing. I think it's a little bit juvenile in places, and I'm not quite sure about the main character Kira. I think there is like maybe a slight robotic sense to her, a little bit. Anyway, she goes through a lot of trauma basically at the start. However, I feel like she's handling it pretty well, where I feel like realistically it would like destroy someone. So I don't know how I feel about that. Obviously we're at the start of the story, so I don't know how it's going to go. So it's about Kira. She is part of this team. I think it's the year 2257, I think, and humans have colonized other planets, other moons. Her family are from Wayland, or she really wants to settle down with her boyfriend in Ada. Her and her team are basically scoping out planets to make them livable, and she's a xenobiologist. And then her boyfriend is a geologist, so she's actually out fixing something and she comes across this really unusual rock. She tells her boyfriend about it and he is like, oh, definitely get a sample, and she ends up kind of running into trouble. All breaks out from there. I don't want to spoil anything. I feel like the plot is actually pretty good. I really like the sci-fi elements of people have their overlays, which are like inserted into their brains, which is basically your iPhone. It's just always there, if that makes sense. You could go back and look at memories, very Black Mirror-esque. There's a bit of like, I wouldn't say horror, but kind of scary elements of this too. I'm really enjoying it so far, so I'm really liking it. But obviously I've got a ways to go. I'm happy to be in this book for a while. I don't plan to rush it or anything like that, but yeah, liking it so far. So yeah, that is all the books I got through for this vlog. I have to say I really enjoyed everything so far. There was no duds. Like, these were both 4 stars. These were excellent. I feel like this is going to be really good. So yeah, really good reading time for me this week. And it did take me about a week to do the 24 hours. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you like videos like this, let me know. If you'd like to subscribe, I do anything book related on this channel. So readathons like this one, reading vlogs, bookshelf organizations, all that stuff. I'll leave all these books that I mentioned in the description. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.